Welcome to the Freelance Tribe. Here we talk with skilled freelancers about their professional journey. Stay tuned for real-life experiences to learn and actionable steps to take to improve your freelancing career. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Vanessa Raath, a freelance sourcer and global talent source and trainer with over 15 years of experience in the recruitment industry, who also enhanced her body language reading skills by being a scuba diving instructor. So, welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm looking forward to it.
When I read about your scuba diving experience, I was so amazed, and I really loved this part when you told, like, you can really read people's faces, expressions under 30 meters under the water. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like it's the best body language courses ever. So definitely, if somebody wants, they need to try it. And I wonder, like, how did you become a scuba dive instructor?
So basically, I had been living in the UK for 7 years and living in London, and I loved it. And I wasn't ready to go home, but I wasn't ready to, and I wanted to leave the UK. As much fun as I was having, I was over the winters. So instead of heading back to South Africa, I decided to go and live in Thailand. So I taught English while I was living in Thailand too. So that was the teaching side. And I got really into scuba diving. And while I was there, I thought, well, this is the best opportunity. I trained to be an instructor. And then actually ended up traveling for another 2 or 3 years through East Africa, teaching people how to scuba dive. So the actual process of becoming an instructor is quite an expensive process through PADI, may I add, and also takes, you've got to pass exams and be responsible for people's safety. So it was a really great experience. I don't regret it at all.
Yeah, I can imagine. And also a lot of fun. So
Yes.
let's start from our professional question. So during the
Yes.
9am webinar, you told that freelancers have to create a compelling bios for themselves. So when recruiters see that, they know how to connect and etc. But how to create a compelling bio?
So let's actually start with another question, and let's think about where are we going to have this bio. So you're right. It's a bio is very powerful. It's very strong. It has to be created, and it's one that can be repeated, but also tweaked. So let's face it, if you're a freelancer and you're looking for work, you need to be on LinkedIn because that's where all the recruiters are. So if you're trying to get the attention of a recruiter, your bio needs to mention things that you are a freelancer, what is your area of speciality, and kind of just give them that overview before they go and open up your profile. Now, good recruiters and talent sources are actually looking on other platforms too. So you now have a bio on Facebook, you have one on Instagram, you have one on Behance. So you can take that same bio that you put together on LinkedIn, giving the basics of what you do, definitely mentioning your style of work, freelancer, gig worker, contractor, those kind of things, and put it onto the other platforms. So on the other platforms, you can maybe be a little bit more of a human being. So for example, on Facebook, mine says happily married and loving life, which it doesn't say on LinkedIn because that's not very professional. But on LinkedIn, it says that I'm a freelance talent sourcer and I'm a global talent sourcing trainer. So mix it up a bit. But basically, the whole point of your bio is to get someone's attention. So you want to catch their eye and put it up there. So to answer the question quickly about the how, a lot of people put this in a sentence format. So they do 2 or 3 sentences. I like keywords separated by the pipe symbol. So if you put the keywords there, you can fit a lot more information in, and that is across all platforms.
Great. And I really love, when I see some people that they have something on LinkedIn, then I go to their Twitters, and I go to their Instagrams, and I go to their Facebook, and it's not like the same copy paste everywhere, but it's like adding to this, like, I'm this professional expert, but I'm also a happy father, but I'm also an owner of dogs, but I'm also this and this, and it's like, oh, it's really interesting person. So it's really great that you mentioned that
so there has to be that common thread so that they recognize the same person. And while we're actually on this point, let's talk about your profile picture. Because if you have your same profile picture across all of the different platforms, it's easier for recruiters to go and cross-reference you. Unfortunately, we live in a world where there's a lot of scammers. There's a lot of people who are not who they say they are. There's fake profiles. But if you try and be a human being, through your bio, through your profile picture, then you are going to instill a lot more faith in the people that are looking to employ you.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm curious, from your perspective, what is a good profile picture?
It was very interesting. I had this discussion this morning with a friend. So for me, it's somewhere that it portrays who you are as a person. So I mean, if you're looking to use it to pick up work, your LinkedIn profile picture, it does need to be professional, but you don't want to be overly professional. You don't need to wear a suit and tie if that's not what you wear as a freelance, UX designer. That's going to look weird. If you have a look at what I'm wearing now, we spoke about it. These are my brand colors. It's got my initials on it, but it's a nice, comfortable T-shirt that I can wear, every day. So I think it's got to reflect you. As long as it's just you, and it's not a whole lot of other people that have been noticeably cropped out. It's you. You're happy with the photo. You're smiling. You're looking at the camera. That's really important. The biggest no-no is don't put the picture up that you wore in the outfit to your wedding, whether you were the bride or whether you were the groom, because you'd be amazed at how many of those pop up on these platforms. And it just looks a bit weird because you just don't look like you do on your wedding day every day, right?
I feel like, why we see those photos, because it's like one of the most occasions people really have professional photos.
And I appreciate that, but you don't look like that every day.
Yeah, exactly. And while if we're talking about LinkedIn, there is this about section.
Yes.
So sometimes I see like there is a long essay about the whole life journey. Like from your perspective, the first question, do recruiters read about section? And if yes, what has to be there?
Okay, so first of all, to answer your question, not enough recruiters read that about section, because that about section is really important. And how I recommend people think about the about section is the old cover letter. So remember, you used to send a cover letter with your CV. Well, recruiters don't read those. So make your cover letter on LinkedIn. And a bit of advice with that is that's where you want to tell people everything else that doesn't appear on your LinkedIn profile. So don't tell us, about what you studied or where you work. Tell us about why you chose to study what you studied. Tell us what you were passionate, where your passion lies. Anyone's welcome to go and check out my LinkedIn profile too. I mean, I talk about things that are unrelated to what we're talking about now, having barbecues, bras, wildlife photography, because that makes up me as a person, because you're not just the person who, goes to work from 8 until 5.
Yeah.
So use it as like a vehicle to really make a connection with another human being. And the second tip is pump it full of keywords. So if you can put some bullet points in there, maybe use some emojis, make it look funky, and you want the keywords highlighted there to really show, what are your skills. So the keywords that a recruiter would be using to look for you, put them into that about section, because they turn up nicely in a search.
Got it. And when you gave this 9 a.m. webinar, you told a lot about storytelling. And yes, I know myself, it's really hard to be a good storyteller. It's really hard to, telling a story to your children, it's different than telling a story to the whole world around, especially recruiters who, looking from the professional perspective. So I wonder how can a busy full-time freelance developer with 2 children and 3 dogs, and how this person can become a good storyteller?
Okay, so first of all, I disagree that you're not a good storyteller, because we had a great chat before we went live and you told me a lot of really interesting stories about yourself and I was very interested. So for me, it's, you could use ChatGPT to help you with your story, as long as it's in your voice and it sounds like you, because no one actually speaks like ChatGPT writes. So that could be a starting point. But I think you've got to do it at the right moment. And it's something that you're going to do as a once-off, Yuri. The story of your life, your career that you're going to put on LinkedIn. I mean, we're probably looking at about 1,000 words there. Wake up fresh one morning, have a good start to your day, sit down, write it out. You're probably not going to have to change it for a good couple of months, if not a year. So it's something that you've got to be in the right mindset. And always get someone to proofread anything before you put it on your profile. So send it to a friend, send it to your partner, send it to someone who knows you well and say, how does this sound? This is what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah, it's a good way to really get a good feedback. Hopefully they will tell truth.
Send it to someone nice.
Yeah, exactly. And You told a little bit about the cover letter that people are sending with their applications, and currently, we see applications for sure on 9am platform, and not that many people are sending cover letters, and those cover letters that we really see, that they sound really ChatGPT-ish. So I'll be
Yes.
super honest. It's like people
Yeah.
saying like, create a cover letter for this position, and then they
Yes.
just copy paste and send it. So
Yeah.
from your perspective, like how to apply for a job in a way that like stand you out from dozens of other applications. What are the like main points that should be included in this cover letter, and how should you structure it?
Okay, so if you're insisting on using a cover letter, which I don't think is the best idea, I would rather you have that cover letter in the body of the email to the recruiter. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
take it off your CV, because the problem with a cover letter, and you touched on it, is it is very generic. So whether you've written it yourself or whether it's been generated by ChatGPT, it's often doesn't sound like you, and it doesn't do the best selling job. So it needs to be short and to the point. So when we're talking about the structure, it's all about the personalization. So you want to mention the recruiter by name. You want to mention why you would be interested in working at that company.
Mm-hmm.
You want to mention something on the role description from the advert of, that why you would want to work at the company. Maybe the skills that you have already. Maybe your areas of development. Tell them. Be honest. From the outset. So it's very much for that one job. And that's why the cover letter kind of has lost its impact, because very generic, not angled towards that particular job. So if you're thinking about length, probably about 500 words in
Mm-hmm.
total for your cover letter. But as I say, pop it into the body of your email and really just be a human being.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When I was applying for different projects, I usually read the job description for sure. I read the job description and I tried to find keywords that people use in those job descriptions. And then when I sent them a cover letter, exactly as you told, it was not like additional PDF file, like here is my cover letter. It was like basically an email. And I tried to use the same language
Yes.
that people stated in their applications, but it was before ChatGPT was so popular. So I'm curious if currently, right now, I know that many job descriptions are made by ChatGPT. So does it make sense to use this, to go through the same process, like to try and to find keywords and to try and to apply in the same manner? Or still it's better to be kind of like more yourself and tell what do you really think, but not pay too much attention on the keywords?
So definitely the latter for me, because you want to come across as a human being, as a person. So what you could do is you could take the advert, you could copy and paste it, you could put it into ChatGPT and tell the story. I'm
Mm-hmm.
applying for this job. I want to write a 500-word cover letter for this role. Please highlight that I have the Adobe SEO skills that the client is looking for. Tell them about the project that I worked on that was this for this
Mm-hmm.
client.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really prompting it to add in lots of personalization in that 500 words. And then at the end, what you need to remember is that the final, whatever it comes up with after that prompt, doesn't have to be the final version. So you could go and say, I like what you've written. Please keep all of the information. However, you need to make it sound more formal or
Mm-hmm.
less
Mm-hmm.
formal, or you need to make it sound more friendly. Okay.
Got it.
So you can keep prompting until you're happy with the final result. And then I always recommend take what you think is the best copy after you've prompted and prompted and prompted, put it into a Word document, check it through Grammarly just in case, and then also just have a read through. And when you read through it, read it out aloud, because too
Yeah.
many people read it in their heads and they don't really get the meaning of what's being written there. So yeah, you definitely need to do that. And then again, send it to someone nice and ask them to proof it. And then you'll get an idea eventually of what is being kind of accepted. Another good thing is that when you do go for an interview or you shortlisted, say to
Mm-hmm.
them, I spent a long time working on my cover letter. Did you read it? Or what was it that sparked your interest to invite me for this interview? And that's also really good feedback.
Following up a little bit on asking questions. One of the problems that freelancers are facing right now is that they send applications and receive no feedback. So from your perspective, what is the best way to follow up on your application to receive an answer?
Again, it actually depends where you're applying for the jobs, Yuri. So, like for example, you see an advert on LinkedIn. What I always try and encourage people to do is to connect with the person who works at the company who posted that advert. So you can then, respond on LinkedIn, but you can also connect with the person and say, "I'm connecting with you because I've submitted an application. Let me know what you think." Or you could connect with people that or reach out to people that you know who work at the company. So I think it would always be a good idea to, follow up. You need to give it a week. You can't keep chasing it. And then what you could do further down the line is that, try and phone the company. You sent your CV for an application. You haven't heard from anyone. Who's the right person for you to chat with? So there's always a way. I think a lot of candidates will sit and would apply for jobs on whatever platform and then think, okay, it's here. Now, what's happening on the other side from a recruiter perspective is that all of that's going through some kind of a tech system. So a lot of times the tech system actually filters out people who don't have the right keywords, the matching keywords to the role description, and they automatically should get a letter saying, sorry, you haven't been shortlisted, or an email or whatever it is. Now, a lot of systems don't have that in place, which they should. So a lot of the times the recruiter doesn't even see your application or your CV because it hasn't made it through the first round, the first pass, should I say.
Yeah, and it's really crazy sometimes, I think. And from your experience, is it possible that CV didn't go through this first round, but somebody followed up and then they got the CV and contacted this candidate?
Yeah. Absolutely. It can work like that because sometimes the CV doesn't sell the person, or a lot of the times the CV doesn't sell the correct skills. So if you haven't taken the time to look at the advert, make sure you've got those keywords in your CV, in the body of the email, then you can slip through the cracks because it's very easy to do that. Because remember, when you are a recruiter and all you've got to look at as a CV is whatever's written down. But you might have the right personality, you might have the potential, you might be a great culture fit, but you can't tell that from looking at someone's CV. A CV is a very poor indicator of future performance. It tells you what someone has done previously.
And I know that some people do not do that because they might be busy. I don't want to bother them. So from recruiters' perspective, do they feel okay when they receive follow-ups?
Look, I can't speak for the entire world of recruiters out there, to be honest. I know that there's some pretty bad recruiters and very busy recruiters, but I always appreciated someone who followed up. So someone who maybe applied to an advert on a job board, then found out who I was, who was the recruiter, who was the head of talent acquisition at that company, followed it up with an email, even a phone call. So for me, that kind of just shows something about the person, right? That they aren't shy to pick up the phone. They really have the conviction of their skills. They really want to work at the company. Instead of sitting there and, you can apply for 50 jobs a day or whatever it is, and hoping that somebody gets back to you. You need to be a little bit more proactive these days.
Yeah, so please, if you listen to this conversation, do follow up if you didn't receive an answer, because that's show your best. It's show your best skills and your from a good view. And you told a little bit about skills and experience of freelancers. And if, let's say, what other crucial things recruiters pay attention to except for skills and experiences?
So that's basically what a CV tells you, isn't it? So it's skills and experiences in the form of keywords. So they're going to be looking at things like your skills. So those are your keywords of things that you've done or the tech stack that you know. Experiences, they're going to be looking at where you've been working. So, for example, if you've been working at a consulting company, but you've actually been on site for Amazon or Microsoft for the last 3 years, mention those, FANG companies, because that's also going to show that, wow, that's really good. So for me, it's a lot of people rush through a CV. They don't take the time to give it enough information. They don't match it to the role description. So it's almost like at this point, we should probably talk about how looking for a job or looking for your next freelancing gig is almost a full-time job because,
Hmm.
it does take time to do this, to personalize your applications, to make it match the role description. So it's something in your freelance cycle that you need to think about as soon as you know your current contract isn't being extended. We normally get a couple of weeks or a month notice on that, and
Hmm.
that's when
Hmm.
you need to start focusing on, okay, what is my next? Because often when you wait, when you're now out of work, it's too late. And that's why I always suggest, keep your social platforms updated. You learn a new skill, you get a new certification, add it to the right platforms before it's like, oh no, I need a new job.
Yeah, I feel like people leave it to the last moment to
Mm.
update things. And I had a conversation with some really great person, and they told that they had this practice in the companies they worked, that every quarter boss told them, like, go update your CV, not because I'm going to fire you, but go and update your CV because you won't be working for this company for a lifetime, most likely. So
Yeah.
please do it. And I feel like it's really
Gosh,
great
that's very
practice.
forward thinking of the company, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's also good, I feel like it's not that
Yeah.
bad, because if somebody pushes me like, go update, I'm like, oh yeah, I will do update it. Why
Yeah.
not?
But
And
another thing you could do, Yuri, is put something in your calendar. So every quarter, you've got something that pops up, block out half an hour in your diary and say platform update, CV update, and do it all together, all at once. And then you know it's done.
yeah, it's a great idea. Thank you very much for sharing it. And how do you become friends with recruiters so that they always reach out to you first when they have a good project?
Okay, so two ways. Recruiters are generally pretty friendly. They want to be building a network. They want good people, that they're connected with. So recruiters aren't normally shy if you connect with them on a platform like LinkedIn or any other business platform. So I would just be bold, connect with them, start a conversation, say this is what I do. Do you ever look at people like my skills? But also for me, if you're a freelancer and you're or a contractor, you've got to prove yourself. So if
Mhm.
you work through a recruiter, they get you a gig, you work hard, you deliver, the client's over the moon with you, they are going to use you again. Like there's no
Mhm.
doubt about it. So you need to find, you get a couple of different types of recruiters. You get recruiters working in an agency, you get internal talent acquisition teams, you get some recruiters that specialize in tech, some maybe specialize in finance. So it's all about finding your right recruiter who's not going to just be your recruiter, they're actually going to become your career partner.
Mhm. Mhm.
So find someone specializing in your skill set, maybe a tech recruiter or freelancers, and make sure that you're connecting with the right people. It's pointless. Like for example, for me, it would be pointless connecting with a freelance recruiter who only looks for Java developers because that's not something that I specialize in. So
Yeah.
so so it's all about finding the right person who's positioned in the right company. So for freelancers, you've actually got to do a bit of both. It could be an agency recruiter, it could be an internal TA team. But as soon as you find your right person, then you're going to be set.
Got it. Vanessa, I really wish to have the sky as a limit, but time is the limit. So the final question, what is your
Yes.
favorite food?
Sure. It's actually what I had for dinner last night. It is a melanzana parmesan. And it would basically, I think it's Italian to be honest, but it's an aubergine dish, lots of tomatoes, mozzarella, pesto, amazing. And I'm a vegetarian. So yeah, it really does work for me.
Oh, sounds very tasty. I really want that. Yeah, thank you very much
Yes,
for
now you're going to have to
sharing.
go make it. Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experience, Vanessa. And it's been such a pleasure to hear and learn from you.
Excellent. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for listening. If you like the show, hit the like button on 5 stars and share it with your friend. That's it. We're done. See you in the next episode.